Oop, there we go. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another episode of the Up North Journal. Sitting in the cabin tonight, post 4th of July weekend. Hopefully.
Yes, 4th of July. Did you have a good 4th?
I did, and hopefully everybody that's listening still has all of their fingers, especially their trigger finger, whether it be right or left-handed.
Right.
Hopefully didn't blow it off. You know doggone good and well that there are people that started the day off with all 10 fingers that no longer have them all. Just saying. It's a way it happens every single year. So, going to do a little sharing here real quick, and then we'll get going to tonight's show. As usual, tonight we're going to be talking archery. Once again, last week we talked with Chris Schnurr, talking about building custom arrows.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
And you need to turn your audio down, Dan.
Why don't I do that?
Yeah, if you could, please.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at you.
Right.
So, but yeah, last week we were talking arrows with Chris, and had some good response with that show. So we decided we'd stay in that kind of same realm, generally speaking, and have a good discussion tonight. So let me know when you're ready, Dan.
Yep.
I'm close here. And I'm ready to roll when you are.
Yep.
Sharing here real quick. And then
And I'll turn my volume down.
There you go.
Okay.
Turn all the volumes down. Will you?
Jim Miller is in the house. Terry DeFaw. And several others.
Krishner.
Chris, hey, what's going on? Chris, I did get your message, by the way, and I will forward it to Danny. You almost there, bud?
2 more to go.
2 more to go? Okay.
2 more to go.
Well, I'll tell you what. While Dan is taking care of that, we want to make sure that we talk about Hunter's Blend Coffee, one of our supporters here at the Up North Journal. If you go over their website, huntersblendcoffee.com, and use the UNJ promo code, which I just showed right there at the bottom of the screen, you can get 10% off your order of Hunter's Blend Coffee, the dark roast or the regular roast. Cups, hats, all that kind of other good swag. Make sure you go over and get you some. Save 10%. Getting close there. You want me to go ahead and start, Dan?
Go ahead.
Alrighty. We'll go ahead and get the record rolling here. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Up North Journal. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight while Danny's little fingers are typing feverishly away, finishing up sharing here. How many more you got? Last one?
Last one.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. While he's doing that, we're going to go ahead and bring in our guest tonight, who is none other than Dan Yassa, PSE Archery. Dan, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing fabulous. Had some great weather this weekend. How about down in Ohio? How was your weather down there for the 4th?
It was pretty good. We had one night of rain, but otherwise the weather seems like it's finally turning and going to be hot. So.
Okay. Does that mean it's time to get out and start slinging arrows?
We've already been out slinging arrows. Now it's just time to get out and sling and sweat more while you're doing it.
Gotcha.
And enjoy the mosquito.
Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of that, we're going to publish our question for the night. Have you started practicing for archery season yet, for bow season? Yes or no? We just want to know what guys and gals are doing out there, getting ready.
I used to start like the weekend of the 4th of July. That was kind of my like starting point.
Okay.
Then I met Dan Yassa. Now I'm shooting all year round and enjoying myself immensely.
Is that something pretty common you see, Dan, throughout the industry, about middle of the summer, late summer, people start picking up the bow, getting ready for bow season?
Yeah, usually on the 4th of July we see a pretty big uptick in people going to dealers, getting their bows strung, getting work done, making sure things are ready for them to start shooting so they can get ready for season. So, yeah, usually the 4th of July is usually the kickoff for that.
All right. So get out to your local dealers, get them new bows in your hands.
Right, you got to get those in new strings, but you got to remember, folks, it just doesn't happen when you walk in the door. You got to give them some time, especially if you're thinking about it, a whole bunch of other people are thinking about it, and there forms a line.
Right. Get in line.
Yeah, the biggest pet peeve I know of everyone working in shops is people coming in the week before season saying, "Hey, you guys, can you guys put a string on my bow today?"
Right.
Well, it'll be about 2 weeks because everybody else decided to wait the same time. So, get in early, get your stuff done, and then go out and start shooting your bow.
Speaking of getting out and shooting your new bow, PSE, that's the reason we got you on tonight. We got some cool stuff that you want to talk about. So
Yep.
You guys had a new offering that was debuted this last week, or this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was released on the 2nd of July, so it was kind of great timing for us just because, again, everyone's thinking about picking up their bows, and we came out with a new color with stars and stripes, so the 4th of July time frame was perfect for us to release that with that new color. So the new bow we released was a Super Focus XL. Last year we released a 37-inch Supra, and we just got so many requests for a longer, bigger brace height Supra, so we came out with the 40-inch axle Supra.
40 inches. Dan, that's a little long for you to shoot, I think. I don't think you, as Bobby Vargas would say at ATA, you got to get a step stool.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I tell you,
Actually,
go ahead.
Actually, we've got a new cam on that bow that'll actually make it down to Danny's draw length.
Oh, nice.
See? Look at that.
Well, I got the picture up right now of Scott Starnes holding the bow, the Stars and Stripes paint scheme on this thing. This thing looks awesome.
Yeah, I've got one here. It's a pretty cool color, coming with white limbs on it. It's just really, really sharp and really, really well done.
Is that dipped, or how is that painted on?
This is actually a color fusion. So just like our bows that are done in color fusion, this pattern is done the same way.
That is incredible. That is so cool looking. And you said that's 40 inches axle to axle, right?
Yep, so 40 inches axle to axle on both versions. So we'll have a small cam version or micro cam version and a small cam version. So the micro cam is a 7.5, 7 5/8 inch brace height, and then the small cam version is going to be an 8-inch brace height. So kind of getting back to that deflexed handle, big brace height stuff that a lot of guys were used to shooting back like early 2000s, mid 2000s.
And the let off on this bow, are we looking at our typical 90% let off or something different? Or
Probably like 65.
Not for the target stuff.
Okay.
So the micro cam's a fixed 75%, and then the small cam version is adjustable from 65 to 90%, but it'll ship with a mod that'll go 65 to 75%.
So they actually have that set up where it will go 90%. Do you see a lot of people even going that high on those, or no?
No, most target shooters will stick in between that 65 and 75%. I do have a very, very small amount of people that do request that high let-off mod just because they want 80. 80 is about as low or as high on the let-off as I typically see for target shooters. But being able to have that option to go up to 85, 90% for someone who's maybe a little bit older or has shoulder issues, it makes it where it's pretty nice to be able to offer that.
So Dan, I think that's something that you and I, as we get older, we're probably going to be looking at.
Yeah.
That
I know,
80%.
right? It's like that's me written all over.
Right.
It's like, and they came out with them Tuesday, the 2nd. Are they ready to ship to stores, or are they? You need to order them, or how can people get their hands on these beautiful beasts?
I think we had 150 of them ready to go, and they are all gone already. I know they're building them feverishly at the factory, so I know we got a ton of orders in for them. We do have some in stock with the smaller cam, the ones that are 28 to 33.5 inch draw length adjustable. We're back ordered a little bit on the micro cam ones, but I know they're building them every day.
They're probably even working through the holiday to get those built.
I think we gave them the 4th off.
Okay.
Come on, Dan, man. Jeez, I tell you. You're trying to make everybody work here.
Well, yeah, why not? So definitely get to your pro shops to try these out.
Yeah. Well, Dan, you shot this thing, so let's hear it firsthand. What do you think about this bow?
I was in love with the Supra, the Focus, when we first came out with it last year, and when we talked about doing a little bit longer one, I was really, really excited about it. I've always been like a 40-inch axle bow guy. I've shot 35, 37-inch bows really, really good, but my best scores I've ever shot have always been with a 40-inch bow. So when we talked about doing this one, you get the best of both worlds. You get the length, you get the deflex riser. The new cam is actually pretty fast. It's actually faster than my 37-inch version. And then you put it in a package that aims a little bit better, is a little bit more stable at full draw. You got a slightly bigger string angle at full draw, it's just we hit it out of the park with this one. So I actually went and shot it in my first tournament last weekend with it, and put up the best score I put up all year shooting fields. So I shot a clean 280 with 44 X's. So it was fun to be able to go out and take a bow that I've had for 6 days, maybe practice with it 6 or 7 times, and go out and shoot a score that's right on par with a bow I've had in my hand for over a year.
That's incredible. Yeah, I just can't fathom that. I mean, I'm still working on my shoot down, kind of getting used to that. And you talk about the longer axle. You know, we're shooting the 28s for our hunting setup this year, and I love that bow. But the differences in the geometry and the fit and feel, it's taken me a little bit getting used to, but I do love it. Talk about for those of you people maybe like me and Danny who are shooting a hunting rig and then stepping into the target world with these longer axle. Talk about to the people who may not know why we go longer axle, and maybe talk a little more about that deflex riser, because we're still learning as well.
Yeah, so a deflex riser is a riser that the pivot of the handle, which is this part right here, the pivot of the handle is actually forward of the pivot of the pocket, which is right here. Okay. So basically, the harder you push on the handle, it makes it want to push and go straight. Okay. So with a deflex handle, it's naturally going to give you a really, really neutral, really, really good aiming bow just because of the geometry. Gotcha. Speed's been a big factor in the last 6-7 years. So every company's kind of gone away from that deflexed riser, but now we've been able to create this deflex in a riser with the new cams and still be able to get decent speed where people will be able to shoot that outside, not have to worry about wind drift and things like that. So the technology we've had with our limbs and our cams, being able to bring back a deflex riser and not have to worry about some of the things you had to worry about in the past with the deflex riser, with them being really, really slow. I mean, I think most all the world records have been shot with a reflex, but that's just because the deflex risers were always tended to be slow because of just the geometry of them. So being able to have this package with these specs and still be able to get really, really good speed out of it should make this thing a game changer. Okay, and the axle, the longer axle versus, like I said, with our hunting rigs, how does that come into play with the target game? It just makes it easier to aim. You imagine if you had let's just say like a 4-inch 2x4 with a string attached onto it where your handle is, and put a string out and you're holding it like you're going to try to aim, how unstable that would be. And then you imagine taking a 40-inch 2x4 and attaching strings to it, of how easy it would be to hold that thing and point it at something. Kind of the same thing you get with the bows. A shorter axles, you're going to have a steeper string angle, which isn't going to give you as much leverage as it will as if it's open like this. Gotcha. So the longer axle ends up giving you a steeper string angle where you actually have more leverage against the limb tips. Gotcha. Okay, makes sense.
Absolutely.
So, and there's give and take on that too. Just on like shorter draw length, people for the most part don't gain as much going to like a 40-inch bow as someone who'd be like 29 to 31 inches draw length. So you kind of have to find a sweet spot. So someone who's, say, a 26, 27-inch draw may not get as much out of a 40-inch bow as someone who's like me at a 29.5. It just opens that string angle enough where it makes the bows way more stable. So somebody like Danny and I are both right around that 27 mark, 27.5. It's probably more advantageous for us to stay with like a 37-inch, 35-inch. Yeah, the 36, 37 inch is kind of a sweet spot for everybody. But you get down to the shorter draw lengths, that's usually a pretty good spot. So, I mean, we've got bows in the lineup that cover all those axle-to-axle ranges and brace heights and things like that. So it's nice having all that versatility where you can kind of pick and choose what you want in a bow and make that choice based on what you need. Okay. All right. Well, talking, you showed the one paint scheme. I got to show this other one. You sent us a photo on. This is way cool. What do you even call this? So back in the early 2000s, we had a color called Good Vibrations, which was a painted on color, and bringing back this old style geometry. we wanted to bring back kind of an old style paint scheme. So it's called Good Vibrations.
That is cool.
So if you do a Google search like PSE Good Vibrations, you'll see some of the bows we've had back like 2000, 2001 that had that paint scheme on it.
And this is another one of those fusion type paint schemes.
Yeah, it's a color fusion process, so It's all done exactly the same.
Yeah, that is sharp looking. I can definitely see those things standing out well, as well as the American flag standing out on the target field. So that is way cool.
Yeah, you're not going to see. You won't see any bows like that from any other company out in the line. If you see a Good Vibrations pattern, you're automatically going to know that's a PSE when you see it.
That's cool. Well, I tell you what, let's step outside, let's take our first break, come back, we'll continue the conversation. We got some other things that we definitely want to talk about. So if you got any questions, everybody, get them ready. And we come back, we're going to continue the conversation here with Dan Yasa. We'll be right back after this.
Anybody out there that's got questions for Dan or anything bow related, ask Dan, because he's the guy. Last week we had Christianer talking about arrows. This week talking with bows. That's a formidable combination in 2 weeks.
It is. And I should be having my new arrows hopefully this week. If I do remember correctly, they should be ready to roll. Alrighty. You ready, Danny?
Yep.
All right. Nope, don't want to do that. Here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show, talking about the new offerings from PSE Archery in the target world. But Dan, that wasn't the first offering they had. We were back at ATA when they unveiled the Evoke, and we really haven't talked a whole lot about that. Can you give us a little insight into that and where we stand with that now?
Well, the Evoke was just kind of an upgraded version of the Evolve. When the Evolve came out, it kind of changed the way people looked at bows as far as smooth draw with being able to get speed and just the versatility that came. So the Evoke, what we did was made that riser a little bit longer, made the limbs a little bit shorter. Making that riser a little longer made the bow a little bit more stable. Making the limbs a little bit shorter, a little bit more parallel, reduced a little bit of the vibration. So for me, the Evoke 35, I've got one of those set up just as basically like a do-everything bow. You're looking at, you got 2 cam options on that one, so you got a 25 to 30 and a half or a 27 and a half to 32 inch draw length adjustability, so you can pick out some brace heights and draw lengths there. But it's a really, really good do-everything bow. You can shoot target with it, you can hunt with it, you can shoot 3D with it. You've got all the adjustability on the mods to go from let off from 65 to 90%. So that bow has done extremely, extremely well for us this last year.
And what axle of those does that come in?
We've got a 31 and a 35 on the Evoke, and then the Evoke Lite is actually a 31 and a half. So the Evoke Lite was a mid-year release for us, kind of just giving people a little bit more options as far as what they want. So it's doesn't quite have all the bells and whistles that the Evoke does as far as the long riser, short limbs, but it's a little lighter package, still coming in at that 31 and a half inch axle, 6 inch brace height, 6 1/4 inch brace height, but that one will go out to 30 and a half inches. So that one's done pretty well for us too. A little bit lower price point on it as well. So just like I said, we're giving people as many options as we can to make it easy for them to pick out exactly what they want.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've, working with you and PSE, that's one thing that the engineers at PSE have kind of left no stone unturned when it comes to options. Do you guys just throw darts at these guys and say, hey, we want this, we want this, we want that, or what?
I can't even imagine the amount of hours the engineers we have work. I know we've got some great guys out there. The amount of stuff those guys can come out with on a year in, year out basis is pretty amazing. So we've got a great team, and PSE is built on being an engineering company. So it's what we do is engineer great bows and come up with great technologies to give people exactly what they need to be successful, either on the tournament side or on the field side when you're out hunting. We just make great products for everybody.
Getting back to the Evoke, are you seeing more people use it for a hunting bow, or for a target bow or a 3D bow? I mean, is there a niche that's kind of geared, or people are using it for more than the other?
It was built for a hunting bow, but the 35-inch version for sure is. I mean, you can do anything with it. So, but its niche is the hunting side. So we sell a lot more 31s than we do 35s. So people are using those for hunting. But yeah, I'd say that's the niche it's fitting, is the hunting side of it.
That's kind of the way it was with the Evolve. With the 35, you see, or at least I saw those out on the target range a little more than the 31s, like Danny and I when we first started. Now the 28's going back into the hunting realm. So it's kind of the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see the 35s out there in the tournament side, but as far as the 31s, you're not going to see those very much on the tournament side, but they are being used a lot to put down animals and go out and harvest some meat for everyone. And
yeah, a lot of people are attributing, like with smaller axle, whether it be the 28, the 31, ground blind situation or in a tight tree stand type thing, as opposed to getting out into the 35 axle. Kind of the back thinking too. Not that I'm short already, but I don't need a big bow. Anyways, so yeah, I can definitely see that. And really, truthfully, you got the Evolve and then you got the Evoke. And the way they're just, these are coming out, it's just, man, technology is awesome the way it is. But shooting these things, you gotta shoot them. We can tell you all you want. We can have Dan on the show. We can say what we want. But until you go to your pro shop and you shoot these, then you'll believe it for yourself.
Absolutely. In talking about things that is different in the way things are moving, you guys, you've got something going there with your summer sales event right now. There's something going on with that. Explain that a little bit.
So yeah, summer sales event. You go into any PSE dealer and you look at the sticker price on like an Evoke 31 or 35 and Color Fusions 1050. We're doing a sale where we're taking $100 off that. The Evolve 28s we're taking $150 off that, and then the Ferocities we're taking $40 off. So it's a pretty big savings for the consumers. Maybe give them a little bit of incentive to go in this time of year and go in and buy a bow when it's a little bit slow normally. So the sale runs through July 31st. So go into your pro shops, test the bows, save a little bit of money, and then while you're at it, we're also giving away a whitetail hunt at the end of the summer as well. So the website for that's psesummershootout.com, and then that's going to be with SOE Outfitters in Southern Texas at the end of the year. So go into your dealers, save some money on a bow, get entered to win a whitetail hunt. I mean, you got a lot of good stuff coming from PSE right now this time of year.
Absolutely. So all you have to do for the whitetail hunt is go over to the website you just mentioned and just sign up there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. No purchase necessary. Get in there, sign up, put down your local PSE dealer as your dealer, and get entered to win a hunt.
Got it like that. Danny, what do you think?
I think it's awesome. I think it's a good time to get into the archery range and check these things out.
Well, and you can say, well, nobody ever wins. I never win a hunt like Danny actually won a hunt like that back in what?
1995.
95. So Danny's won a hunt. I just got drawn for an elk tag of one of 40,000 people who put in for 200 tags. So to say that it's not possible, get over there, sign up, and definitely put your name in the barrel, because you never know.
You can't win if you don't play. So
exactly. Exactly.
I buy a lottery ticket every now and again too. So I mean, it's one of those things. You're never going to win it if you don't play. So
exactly.
That's absolutely true.
And this one doesn't cost you $1 or $2.
Nope, doesn't cost you anything.
So, well, what have you been up to lately? I mean, I know you said you shot this bow down. I believe you said at Mudjaw.
Yep.
What's going on with you right now with the tournament season in full swing for outdoor tournaments?
This year's been a little different since we introduced the gun stuff. I've actually been traveling a lot more, going to gun ranges, trying to show off this new rifle we've got, our rifle chassis that we have. So I haven't been able to practice near as much as I want to, but I'm still trying to hit all the Ohio Target Archers events, all the Ohio Archers Association events. The one I shot last weekend was an Ohio State Field Archery Association event. And then at the end of the summer, Here in Ohio, we'll have USA Outdoor Target Nationals, which will be in August. And then the very end of August, we'll actually have USA Field Nationals here in Ohio and Ashland. So those are the two main things I'm getting geared up for. Probably the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, I'll really actually start practicing hard and making time to get out and practice and make that a little bit more of a focus than it has been in the last month or so since I've been traveling so much. So
right. Well, what stands out for you now coming up for maybe the hunting season? I mean, if you have anything planned for maybe getting out and doing some hunting, or getting out of state and doing some hunts as well, or no?
We had talked about maybe going out and doing an elk hunt, but I don't know if that's going to be in the cards. That'll probably be a last-minute decision. There's a couple places in Idaho that are over the counter that we can go, so we'll just kind of have to see how things go. As of right now, we're planning on just Michigan, Ohio, and West Virginia doing some deer hunting.
Okay.
How that's a little unknown fact about PSE in their rifle chassis.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that. I don't know where you want to place that in the PSE library of. It's always been on the radar to do something like that, or is it just something, or what is it? How did that come about?
Well, I mean, PSE's precision shooting equipment has never been an archery-specific name. Pete's, like you guys have talked to Pete before, you know he's always been into things that shoot. He's designed weapon systems. He's worked for the military. So we see the chassis that we're doing now. One of the big things that's coming up is a series called PRS, Precision Rifle Series, and that's starting to really take off. And we've been machining aluminum for 50 years. It's something we do really, really well. And a lot of these competition shooters are using fully machined aluminum chassis. So Pete worked with a company called Western Precision. I believe they're out of Tucson or somewhere in Arizona, to develop this rifle chassis just to make it the most accurate chassis in the world, basically. So we've got a few cool things as far as a recoil lug retention system that will make this gun shoot better than basically any chassis that's out there.
And I've seen photos of you on the range and everything. How far are you reaching out and touching with this thing?
I've been able to shoot 12 by 12 steel plates at 1,000 yards pretty consistently. And so I'm not a rifle guy. I mean, I've had rifles. I've shot deer with rifles. I've had guns growing up as a kid, but I've never been a long range guy. Before we launched this product, I think the furthest I probably ever shot a rifle was maybe 200, 250 yards at a target. So this was definitely something that was way out of my comfort zone.
Well, that's why I brought that up, because it's like, because you're talking like really long range, and I'm like, I wonder what he's actually done there. Now you kind of just proved my point. 250 yards.
So,
now you're reaching out there.
Yeah, so I was lucky. One of my good friends from when I lived back in St. Louis was I think he was a Marine sniper, so he's got a lot of experience with guns and shooting long ranges. So after we got the gun set up, actually went back to St. Louis for some family stuff, and I took it back and went and spent a day with him so he could kind of teach me the ropes a little bit on how everything works, how you set stuff up, just doing a little bit of basic teaching of how the scopes work, how the dope work, how to do everything so I'm not completely lost when I go to a range. And then after you learn it, it's actually a lot of the ballistic calculators are exactly like the archery ballistic calculators. So that part was pretty easy once I got used to doing that, and now it's just learning how to be more and more consistent at long range with that gun, how to read wind, how to read thermals and things like that that'll really affect how a bullet travels when you start getting out 7, 8, 9,000 yards. So
yeah, that's just something I was going to ask you about how they correlate one to the other. You kind of explained that, but when we were up at the Total Archery Challenge, you and Chris talked to us about reading those thermals up the mountain or down the mountain, looking and seeing how to read that wind. Talk a little bit about that, about as far as learning that. You said he taught you about that with the ballistics. That really does go into play a tremendous amount when you're shooting long distance, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean I went out and shot a long range match at Rayners, which is here in Ohio. I think it was like 3 weeks ago, just to kind of go out and see what it was about. and they had a lower range where we shot anywhere from like 300 yards out to 600 yards. Went in for a lunch break, went back out onto the upper range, and you're basically shooting over like two small valleys.
Okay.
So you really, looking at the wind, you had to read wind from the difference of one valley to the next valley to where you're even or where you're even sitting. The winds can be completely different. So the guys that have shot there a lot know where to look and what trees to look at to figure out where to hold. So that was, I mean, like stuff I wouldn't even think about looking at. They were saying, okay, you see how that flag down there is blowing that way, but when you go over to this one over here, it's blowing the other way. That's because this valley creates a swirl. So
wow,
when you get out, aim like 2 mils off, or 0.2 of a mil off on this one for this target whenever the wind is doing this, and then if it's doing this, just aim straight up, because you're basically going to cancel each other out between the two valleys. And it's completely, when you're reading wind for archery, you're basically figuring out between you and like maybe 80 to 100 yards.
Right.
It's way different when you're looking at something 1,000 yards away and trying to figure out what exactly is going on between me and the target, because they've got a thing called a kestrel that'll give you like wind readings, but that's only where you're standing. You still,
Right.
I mean, things can be completely different 1,000 yards down range.
Well, I got to think too, learning how to do that and practicing that to these guys that go out west and do long range rifle shooting on big game. I mean, that's huge. It's got to be huge to be able to read that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning experience. And first time out, I know the next time I go out, I'll be able to improve on score just by knowing the things that I learned by the end of the day that I can apply to earlier in the stages that maybe I missed one that I would have not missed if I would have known what I was looking at. So it's definitely fun. And just like on the archery side, when you go to tournaments, everybody there is more than willing to help. I mean, I can't tell you how many guys I had say, "Oh, it's your first time here. Got any questions? Come tell me. Hey, I see how you do this. Try doing this next time." So everyone's been more than happy to help the new guy coming in that doesn't really know what the heck he's doing. The archery and the gun side, they kind of mimic each other in that, and that everyone's there willing to help. So.
Well, that's good. You know, and you don't see that in every sport.
No, you don't. You especially those fisher kind of guys. They don't even tell you what lake you're in, what spot.
That's right.
That. Lake not going to tell you, and what are you using? I ain't using anything, right?
Right.
It's like, you know, and that's the funny thing. You mentioned that's one thing Mike and I learned doing the indoor league, was letting everybody know, hey, we're the new people here, and everybody was forthcoming with information about what to do, whether it be scoring, not scoring, etiquette, stuff like that, and you learn, and everybody was nice about it. And it's good to hear that on the gun side, it's the same way, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to get out again whenever I get a chance. They usually have one of the long range matches like once a month, so they usually do them in 3 days. So hopefully the next one they have, I can get out there at least for a day and go shoot, and then eventually hopefully get into the PRS stuff, which is a little bit more fast paced. So I want to learn the long range stuff is a little bit more slow paced. You've got a little bit more time to think and look at stuff, where the PRS is, you may have to get 10 shots off in 90 seconds. So
wow.
It's a little bit more fast paced. So I want to get my feet wet doing the long range stuff, and then jump into the PRS stuff maybe down the road.
Next thing you know, this guy's gonna be doing those 3 gun shoot things.
Right. So is this a new thing you want to try to start tackling? Going to put the bow down, or?
Oh no.
I didn't think so.
No, it's just going to be this will kind of be a release away from archery for me, to be able to go out and shoot. It's fun. I mean, the first time I hit the plate at 1,000 yards, it was like, holy cow, that was pretty cool. And it's like, all right, can I do it again? And then it happened again. It's like, all right, this is pretty sweet. Now whenever I miss, it's like, okay, why did I miss? Figure out what changed between me hitting and me missing, because there's really not. It's not like archery where you can do something a little bit wrong with your front hand. I mean, as long as you're holding the gun the same, it's more condition based on where you're hitting.
Right.
You know, maybe that's my ignorance on the whole thing, but usually whenever I break a good shot, if the conditions are all the same, it's going to hit right where I'm aiming. So
Yeah, that's cool. It's just like you said, though. You hit. Hey, that's cool. That's awesome. You do it again. But then once you start doing this, and that's kind of the way it was with us with target archery. All of a sudden, I'm starting to break down my form and my shot execution. I'm like, and as soon as you touch the release, it's like, I know exactly what happened before it even hits the target.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bad shot. So I just think that's the competitive nature of what we do. It's not that you're shooting against somebody, you're shooting against yourself to better yourself.
And then you start overthinking.
Yeah, that's my
And
problem.
that's when the wheels come off and everything happens. That happens to Dan, I'm sure, that he'll overthink sometimes and he'll just have to regroup.
No, that's cool. though.
Sometimes it happens.
Well, hey, if you got time for another segment?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the hunting side and why hunters should pick up a little bit of target archery to better their game, kind of like what Danny and I did, what you've taught us. So we're going to step outside,
Absolutely.
we'll take our break, and we come back, we'll kind of venture down that road. We'll be right back after this. All right.
Anybody else got any questions for Dan? Let him have it.
Everybody's still lighting fireworks off.
It was Fireworks City last night. Yikes.
A lot of fireworks down your way?
We were in bed pretty early on the 4th, so I think there were some fireworks going on, but we weren't up watching them.
Okay, gotcha.
Lights out.
You get to go to bed early and not have to wake up early. It's a blessing sometimes.
Yes.
I hear you.
It's been like that all week. I totally get it.
All right, here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Third segment of the show. I can't even talk. I'm so tired. That's what happens.
It's a tongue twister.
Well, when you work 27 hours of overtime in a week, it'll do it to you. We put in a long week. But, we want to talk a little bit about, we talked about the target side of things, and we talked a little bit about the, using the Evoke as a hunting bow. But kind of putting this all together, you talked to Danny and I last year and kind of got us on that path of target shooting, and totally have ruined us now because that's our direction, and it's really become something that we're getting involved in and love. Why do you think it's so important for a hunter to pick up this game to make themselves a little more effective in the field? I mean, talk a little bit about that direction and what it does for you.
Well, I mean, you hear a lot of guys talk about getting ready for hunting season. I'm going to go out and start shooting a lot of 3Ds. One of the biggest differences I see between target archery and 3D archery, especially for someone who's trying to learn something, is when you're going to a 3D shoot, you shoot one arrow at your target, at your 3D target. If you hit the middle, great. You don't know if you can do it again. If you make a bad shot, you don't know what you did. You don't know if it's like, okay, how do I fix that? When you go to target archery and you're shooting multiple arrows at a distance, like in a field archery, there's targets from 20 feet to 80 yards, and you've got to shoot 4 arrows per distance. So you walk up to a target 60 yards, you got to shoot 4 arrows. You shoot your first one, you put it in the dot, great. All right, what did you do it again, to hit that, and can you do it again? Mm-hmm. It's something you don't get with 3D. You get to learn more about you and your shooting than you do in 3D. So that's probably the biggest thing I see difference between the two, and when you're trying to learn something, getting a little bit more repetition and being able to kind of back up your results. Yeah, you may hit a 12 on this one, but on a field range or an indoor spot league, you got to do it again and again and again. So you get that repetition and that you're backing up your results again and again and again. It just gives you a little bit more confidence when it comes time to actually make a shot on an animal. You know you've had that repetition. You know exactly what it takes for you to break a good shot and to make that arrow go where your pin's sitting.
Do you think out on these types of ranges or tournaments, the difference in the distances is obviously going to give you a lot more practice at different distances versus just shooting in your backyard at, say, 20, 30, 40 yards repetitively over and over again?
Yeah, and another thing, too, when you get to go to these tournaments, you get a little bit of pressure built up on you. I mean, you may not be competing for a lot of money, but it's something you're going to have to write down your score on paper. So people are going to see, maybe not, they aren't going to see, but you're going to see your score at the end of the day. So you get in that point where this arrow counts because I'm going to have to write down where the arrow hit. So you get a little bit of the nerves, you get a little bit of the pressure. Same kind of thing that happens whenever a deer walks out. You get a little nerve and a little pressure in shooting target archery and shooting in competitions where you're having to write a score down puts that same kind of pressure on you as it does whenever an animal walks out.
Well, when we were at the Total Archery Challenge, I mean, it was one arrow at foam. But Danny and I mean, they said, well, you don't have to take a scorecard with you. But we did, and we kind of come up with our own scoring system. Just, it wasn't, matter of fact, Danny and I, to this day, have still never shared our scores with each other. And it really didn't matter, but it was the fact that you were writing down a number. You're writing a number down on a piece of paper and keeping track. So.
And then specifically the archery challenge, besides this, our little score thing going, was the challenge of the hill. Now, I know you went up on the hill once or twice, and, that alone, and we talked about this on previous shows, was by us working out, helped us get through that.
Absolutely.
And that's another aspect, Dan, is getting the other maybe extra workout in or doing something physical activity. So yeah, you can shoot the bow here and there and just shoot, but then take it out in the field with you and start marching around the woods.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, anything you can do to put stress and pressure on yourself and force yourself to have to perform before hunting season, the better off you're going to be when it comes time for hunting season.
I know that back before you really got involved with PSE, because your schedule's so busy now, but I know you used to do a workout regime as well. I don't know if you still do, but when you did or do now, when you get done working out, have you ever picked up your bow and went out and tried to shoot after doing something like that, strenuous, just to put pressure on your body, or no? Is that something you shouldn't do?
Not anything that I can remember. Usually, like, I'll go out and do a run now, and I don't think I want to pick up my bow after I run a couple miles because I can barely stand up as it is. But yeah, I mean that's all good if you can do that, get your heart rate up, and be able to go and make a good shot. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing I can remember off the top of my head of what I've done like that in the past. So
I think the closest we've come to that was that climbing up that mountain and doing it.
That was probably pretty close, and it wasn't cool either.
No,
it was getting warmer as the day went on. And
right.
That was a trip. I'll tell you that. It was fun though.
So
it was kind of muggy up there those few days. So
just a tad. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and we'll take our third break. We'll come back. We'll kind of wrap up the show here. So we're going to step outside, take our last break, and we'll be right back after this. Alrighty, we'll save this one off.
All right, last segment of the show. Last chance to ask Dan anything. Hey, Courtney. But yeah, no, that archery challenge was a blast. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely gonna be going back again.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I talked with the owners of it, and we try to get them on the show early next year. Kind of get them in line and have them on the show. They liked having people there to help them, really, because it was just awesome, and it was a fun time.
I listened to them a few days ago on a podcast, I can't remember which one it was, but talking about their schedule going around all these things for the summer, and it's like, holy cow, you guys do a ton of work for this thing for the summer.
Right. The one guy, and I can't remember his name, but he was like, I will be so glad when Monday comes because I'm flying home for the first time. I think it was 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, probably Sean DeGray.
Yeah, and he was just waiting. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah, they're on the road. Every time you turn around, they're setting up at a new venue. Yeah, like almost every week or every other week.
Yeah, they don't have much time in between events either. So.
Yeah, it's turn and burn.
Yep, I'd hate to. Yeah, I can't imagine having a breakdown or something when you're in between two venues.
No kidding.
With like a week between them, it's like, all right, now how do we get this done?
Yeah, and you got all, especially if it's the rig hauling all the targets.
Right.
And they're all stuck in that rig, and you got to get them to a destination.
Well, I saw the video from Pennsylvania where it rained every day.
Right.
And then they were like, wow, it hasn't rained.
Right. Yeah, Michigan was like the first place it hadn't rained in like a month. So, all right, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Last segment of the show, everybody, on a 4th of July weekend.
Well, Kind of a 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, well, post. I can't remember what day it is. Everything's running together.
Well, you
What is- It's the 7th.
What's that?
It's the 7th.
It's the 7th.
It is the 7th. Okay, now I know what day it is. Jeez, oh, Pete's. I got a question for you. You know, just off the cuff here. I heard somebody talking on Facebook about a bucket list hunt that they want. Do you, Dan Yasa, have a bucket list of hunts or places you'd like to go to and sling some arrows or a certain animal?
Definitely one is a Yukon moose. That's a bucket list hunt for sure.
Everybody says that.
That's
a big one.
If you're a big game hunter, that like I think ranks up there. I don't know. Have you ever been to Africa or like a New Zealand type thought? Anything
Nope,
like that?
New Zealand red stag's another one I really want to go on. Africa, at this point in my life, that really not kind of on my high list to do. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff I'd rather do before Africa. I know for the price you can shoot a lot more animals there, but to me, I'd rather go out and hike and climb mountains and see cool stuff than sit in a blind and wait for animals to come to water. So maybe eventually down the road, Africa would be something I want to do. But now it's I want to go out and climb mountains and see cool stuff and chase animals as opposed to sitting waiting for them.
More of that hardcore, not survivalist, but endurance type event to get out and get after something.
Yeah, we were out right before Reading. We went out on a 3-day hog hunt out in California, and we did 8 miles a day. I think we ended up doing like almost 200 stories a day, hiking through the mountains, chasing hogs. So that was kind of fun.
What did you do to get ready for something like that?
Run.
A lot.
A lot. No, that wasn't a hunt where we had to like carry a lot of big packs or anything with us. So it was basically just getting your endurance ready and getting your legs ready to feel some burn for hours on end. So that was actually a cool hunt because we hardly saw any hogs. I think we saw about a dozen hogs total, and that was at one time when we were driving out to where we were going to go hunt. But we'd probably see 50, 60 coos deer a day. Coos, cows, however you want to call them. But the last day we were walking over to a watering hole. We thought, okay, well maybe there'll be some hogs in the mud because it had been hotter than it'd been for the 2 days we'd been there before. So we kind of sneaked around the corner, and there was a full-grown 120, 130-pound mountain lion laying by the lake, just sitting there sunning themselves. It was kind of like one of those, oh crap! He looks up and it's like, oh crap!
Both of you.
Kind of sizing each other up, and then he bolted in like before I was trying to like, how do I get to my phone to take a picture of this before he leaves? And it's like I'm reaching for my phone, and then he just takes off. But that was a pretty cool experience to see a full-grown mountain lion. Just you happen to walk up on him when he's sitting in the sun sunning himself by a lake. So
wow,
that was a pretty cool experience, even though we didn't get to shoot any hogs. Or even see that many of them, being able to be out in the hills and hiking and seeing coos deer. We probably saw a fawn that was maybe an hour or two old, like it was still shaky leg.
Really? That's cool.
Barely able to stand up. So it was a really, really cool experience, even though we weren't able to actually shoot anything. It was still fun to be out there and be in the mountains and hike and go after stuff.
I think if I'd have seen a mountain lion, I don't know, I'd have been like, do I run or do I grab my phone? Do I run or do I grab my phone and take a picture or video?
Can you run and take your picture?
Can you do it both at the same time?
All the cats I've seen, I don't think I'd ever run away from one, because then they're like, ooh, he's running, let's chase.
That's true, yeah. All of a sudden it's the cat and mouse game. So, looks like we got Dan locked up here on the video. We just lost him, so. And let's see if we can get this connection back here real quick. This happened last week, didn't it?
Yes.
And the power, I wonder, is Krishner's power company powering Dan Yass's place? Oh, live TV, you gotta love it, folks. This is funny. Jason Pfister asked a question, Dan.
When is the date?
If we're going to shoot field with Dan and him in Toledo,
Date.
depends on what day the weekend date is. Jason, if you could shoot that back to us, what day it is or what weekend. That way we can kind of talk and make plans maybe. I bet Dan's phone ran out of battery power. I'm just guessing.
All right, Danielson.
Because he hasn't texted us back. And usually he would text us back at this point in time. And Courtney asked how the weekend's going for us. Actually, I worked most of the weekend, most of the holiday. Dan was up north in the UP, enjoying the mild weather in Michigan's Great Upper Peninsula, up at his deer camp.
There's no doubt about it.
What's that?
It was gorgeous up there.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
We've had good weather, no rain, but 4th of July, the day after, it was extremely hot here.
There he is.
And you get him back? We got him back online here?
Should be.
All right. We're dialing here. We'll see what happens.
Back to being green again.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh.
Well, I'll tell you what. We've still got a few minutes here. We can talk a little bit.
Yeah, we can.
Why don't you just go ahead and text him and let him know. It's August 3rd and 4th. Actually, no, Jason, we will not.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I will not be able to because that is my granddaughter's first birthday. And if I miss that, I am dead meat. So I will not be able to make it that weekend, unfortunately. Danny might, though.
All right. Okay.
So I'll tell you what, you just want to move along here, Dan?
Yeah, let's just move along.
So,
We found out his bucket list is a moose hunt.
and he likes to sneak up on large cats.
Right.
So,
You know, it's one of those things that you talk to a lot of people, and it might be Africa, might be
Yeah.
New Zealand, moose.
yeah. I don't know what my bucket list hunt would be. I really don't know. I guess right now at this point in time for me it would be to go out west on a mule deer or an elk hunt with my dad. That's something that I would think would probably be right up there on top of my bucket list.
That'd be cool.
So,
You will, in a not a bucket list item, but like a lottery item, is you're going to go on this elk hunt.
yeah, we can talk about that a little bit.
And it's one of those things that. Let me just ping him one more time, see if he's there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's everybody's different. You know, some people might want to do a gator hunt.
Actually, I think a friend of ours is actually putting in on a gator hunt. Mr. Tim Seas, he's asking what our bucket list hunt was. I just give mine. What's your bucket list hunt there, Dan?
You know, I'm trying to think of one. I kind of like the moose.
You'd go up into Ontario to your family's place, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would, and I want to check into that actually because I guess it's very hard to get, if any. They might not allow it in Quebec.
Okay.
Not 100% sure. I've already talked to my cousin about it, and I'm trying to get more information from her about it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I do that or I do a black bear hunt.
Okay. Nice.
I'd like to get up there and do that, but Africa didn't appeal for me for a long time, but that's kind of starting to creep into the picture.
Is it?
Is like, okay, maybe it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah. I've still not. That's still not kind of got on my radar yet. I'm kind of more like what Dan was talking about as far as the extreme style of hunting, you know, of getting in deep, you know, taxing your body, pushing yourself to that limit to get to a place where the big game is and being able to take big game. I guess that's kind of where I'm at. And it doesn't really matter what kind of species it is. I mean, I'd like to just do something like that.
Right, exactly, and get, you know, just something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so you know, it's one of those things. Would I like to try gator hunting? Sure.
I think Tim Seas is going to try. I think he's
Why not?
He's put his name in the hat for a hunt, and we're going to see what happens. If he says Georgia is open up if you want to apply for tags. You know what? Someday I might do that because that's something that's kind of cool. It's kind of been on my radar as well.
Well, Dan was just talking in the first segment about over the counter.
Yeah, in Idaho.
Yeah. So you never know.
Let somebody get out there and get a little experience, get their feet on the ground, and understand what's going on, and maybe pick their brain a little bit.
Yep, like Krishner's doing.
Yep, exactly.
You know, but yeah. So as far as getting everything ready to go here, after the 4th, we're gonna do some shooting. We got to get ready. Maybe do some 3D tournaments.
Yep.
Find out how that is. Dan Yass is not sure what happened.
Tell him that's okay. We'll catch up with him later. So, but you know, you'd mentioned the elk hunt. I would like to talk about that just for a couple minutes, because
Yeah. Well, for a couple now, because we got from now until December to
talk a lot about it. But you know, this hunt, there's so many things that's just kind of crept in the back of my mind since I actually found out that I was going to get to do this. But this kind of takes my hunting full circle for me in my life.
Okay.
The area that we're going to, the guide that's actually going, or the family that's going to guide for me and help me along with this, is the same family that my dad co-owned a cabin in 80 acres with.
Okay.
When I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I started cutting my teeth in the outdoors with my dad. That's one of the places, actually. But he sold his portion of that cabin and land to this family. And back in 1981, we're still friends with him to this day. But back then, our neighbor, my dad, and me were invited up to their place, back up to the cabin, to go and take a deer hunt on some new state land that had just opened up. And just so happens, it was in elk country.
Okay.
This is where this cabin is in elk country. So we went up, and that is actually where I shot my first deer.
Oh, nice.
My first buck. And I've told the story on here before about it running with a big bull elk.
Yep.
So now, come back, 81 to now, almost 40 years later, 30 some odd years later, I'm going back to that same area, same family, different. They live down the road now from this cabin, not far, but it's going to be the same general area where I saw my first elk, where I shot my first buck, and now I'm going back for an elk hunt. So it's brought me back full circle. Kind of cool.
And you stayed in Michigan.
Yes, yeah, stayed in Michigan.
And you stayed under the bridge.
Yeah.
I got to get you above the bridge. He's a piece.
I've been above the bridge before.
But have you hunted above the bridge?
No. I've fished above the bridge, but I've not hunted above the bridge.
There we go.
So
let me add that to your bucket list.
Well, we can add that to the bucket list as well.
All right. But anyways, so have you decided whether you're going to use a rifle, a slingshot, a spear, a bow, or what are you going to use? What weapon are you going to use?
I'm probably going to use a rifle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty well set on that. I would love to shoot one with my PSC 28, Evolve 28. But that time of year, being in the winter, getting game enough, close enough to you, getting able to put a sneak in close enough to actually shoot one with my bow at that time of year is probably going to be a lot harder than I ever imagined.
Well, you're looking at December, which is actually the third hunt period.
Yes.
So probably with pressure and time of year and everything built up to when you get there, it might be a little tough, because that'd be like hunting a lower peninsula deer in December.
Well, yeah, truthfully, I mean,
right?
It's the same type deal, and I'm going to practice out to our gun range. I believe I know we've got a 200-yard range, and I might have a 250. The people that I'm going with, they said the longest shot that they've had anybody take is 191 yards. So if I'm dialed in at 200 yards, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. You could always ask Dan Yassa for some tips on shooting a couple thousand yards.
That's right.
So then you'd be good.
Right. I just need one of those chassis.
Right.
So, but no, it's going to be cool. I'm really excited about it. I just talked to him this week. He called me up, and we talked a little more about it. And actually, I got some sad news that one of the guys that we hunted with back then, it was my dad and this gentleman that he owned the property with, and about 10 other guys.
Okay.
We all kind of hunted together. There's all of us kids, but they were the grown-ups at that time, and now we've kind of all grown up. But it's just the guide I'm going with and my dad that are left out of that group.
Oh, there's only two left.
Yeah, the third one, the third to the last just died here 2 weeks ago. I just found out. So,
I tell you what, that in a sad way, time never stops.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't stop for anybody. You know, and we talk about bucket lists. You know, bucket lists. Talk about Dan Yassa going on what he thought would be a bucket list. You talking about yours and me. You know, you never know when the hunt you go on is going to be your last one.
That is a definite true statement, and that's why when I go up across the bridge up to the cabin and I look around and I walk down the trail or frogging around in the creek, you take it all in.
Yeah.
And there's been times I have literally stood there and just looked around, take it in, and
in awe.
Awe. It really is. It's amazing what nature has to offer. It just.
Well, I talked about that with my wife this week. You know, I mean, we were talking one night. You know, we got into these deep philosophical things, and she's like, "What is it about hunting that just drives you so hard?" And I was like, you know, it boiled down to the fact. I said it's something deep within us. I think in our DNA that guys feel they have to go out and conquer or put food on the table or be smarter than a game animal. It's not the creature comfort. We have creature comforts at our camp, but like I said, I'm more of that challenge now of going out and pushing my body to the limits. And how cold can you and how long can you stay out? You know, how far can you go in? You know, how deep do you have to go to get something? You know, it's those types of things I think that just drive us. It's we have to be able to prove it to ourselves, I guess.
I think a lot of it is, and I've learned this having my daughter and her girlfriend Gabby the last couple years out there. Gabby specifically, the first thing, my daughter not crazy about getting into a tree stand. Gabby loved it.
Right.
So she got up there and was like a whole nother world opened up. Right.
Right.
So she overcame that. Overcoming other obstacles, whether it be mice or whatever it might be, but also being able to say, I did it.
Yeah, that's it. I did it.
And say, last year she took up bow hunting 2 years ago. Last year she shot a buck. I did it. You know, and we learned that she did it and what it took to get it.
Right.
So,
and once you get to that point, you want to keep pushing to the next level.
Okay, so then now fast forward to like this past year and a half, doing everything what we're doing on the property, and they're helping, right? They're setting cameras, they're helping me cut trails, and we're all working together, knowing that come October, November, hopefully it'll pay off.
Yep, there's another opportunity.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. So I think you're right, and I think it's the more of the overcoming yourself and being able to, I don't know if it's outsmart or just get it there to the satisfaction of I did it.
Yeah, and once you do it, what's the next level? What's that next step? What's that next thing? You push yourself, keep pushing those boundaries further and further out.
Well, look at us. Probably 2 years ago now. Okay, here we are. Meet Dan Yassa, and we go to these tournaments where we're shooting 80 meters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we thought we were going to be doing that, right? Yeah, no. But that's it. But we did it.
Yeah.
Did we do it great?
No. But when you hit the target at 80 meters,
you're like,
it's a big target, but at least you hit it.
Right, you know? And that's part of it. And, yeah, I think deep down it's a sense of accomplishment.
That's exactly it is. Yep, I did it. I accomplished something. I bettered whatever it is that I was doing and pushed it further than I did the last time.
Whether and then like now I can sit in my living room and I can look at my photos on the wall, or I can look at what Kelly's 6 points on the wall or whatever I have on the wall and look at it and go, yeah, I remember I did it. What was I doing with that one or that picture over there? What, you know? But yeah.
And then the memories, yeah, like you said, you know, and who you're with,
right?
You know, whether it be your dad, your grandpa, your uncle, your aunt, your grandma, you know, your daughters, your sons, your husband, your wife.
Yep,
whoever.
Exactly. And it's that set of accomplishment and memories.
You know, so yeah, I had that conversation, and she kind of understood it. I mean, and
not all people can understand it, and you can't explain it to them.
It's hard. I mean,
Very
actually,
hard.
You know, I hate to admit this, but I will. Is I actually got emotional talking about it,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's such a deep seated passion of mine that I feel like it's something that I have to do for not to prove anything to anybody, but to myself.
It's your inner self.
Yeah, it's that drive, that goal that just keeps pushing you further and further and further. So,
Right.
but yeah, she kind of understood it, And I said, I don't expect you to go out and kill deer with me, or go hunting. I said, I know she's not that type of person, but I appreciate the fact that she gives me the freedom to be able to go and do these things, just like anything that somebody else, maybe in her shoes, they've got other goals and aspirations and things that they want to do, and and you help each other along the way.
And whatever they do, that's their accomplishment.
Yep.
And Tim Sia says, "Gosh, you guys are hitting everything on the head. When you kill something alone without your dad, then it's like climbing Mount Everest."
Absolutely.
And it's the absolute truth.
Yeah.
Or in my case, recently when my dad passed a few years back, I shot a buck with him there. It was the following year after he passed when I got another buck. It was like, it's when you do it by yourself, it's a whole different story, I think.
Well, it's that buck right there is, and you can't see it here on the live stream because it's up there on the wall, but that's the one. That's my first buck, and it was run with a big bull elk. And when my dad pulled into that parking area, and I'm sitting there with that buck, I still remember the look on his face through the windshield of the vehicle when they pulled back in, And I can't go into detail because I'll start tearing up.
Right, exactly.
Because it just like Tim said, it's that accomplishment of when you're alone and you've reached that point, and your dad says, "Attaboy."
Right.
You did it. And then the doe that I shot on my birthday when we were sitting in the deer blind together.
Oh, yeah.
The only deer that I ever killed with him sitting beside me was another highlight. It's moments like that just, it keeps pushing you, man.
Absolutely.
So
we'll forge ahead, and you'll be making memories this December.
I hope so.
And
I hope I can take you with me, man.
I think anything that happens will be a memory, whether good, bad, indifferent.
Yeah, there's no guarantees that I'm going to get one.
Right, exactly. So here we are going into July. Yep. Now I'll change subjects real quick. Just a little teaser.
Okay.
Interesting thing happened over when I was up north.
Uh-oh.
My brother-in-law, who's now sorry to say, a Illinois resident, came to Michigan. He bought some land up here. Well, he
Okay.
went to the DNR to buy his license.
Okay.
And
It's like this here in this
Last week.
Last week, okay.
Went to the DNR office, tried to purchase his license. They ended up not taking American Express, but it was an interesting conversation he had with the biologist.
Okay.
And all I know is that she said that big changes are coming for the hunting.
For
Well,
is it good or bad?
Well, she couldn't say. So this is the big tease, which I was like on the edge of my seat. It's like, that's all she said. Well, she said she couldn't say no more. So it sounds like they're getting ready to come out with the regulations for the year.
Yeah, there will be. I think the end of this month.
Right. End of July. And she even told him, if you buy your license now, and if you don't like when things change, you can get a refund.
That worries me. that really worries me, man.
He ended up not buying a license because he didn't take American Express. But anyways, that was the conversation he had with her about things changing. You can buy your license today, and if you don't like it after they change, you can get a refund.
Wow.
And I think...
Why would a DNR officer tell somebody...
No, it's a biologist.
Or biologist. Well, a DNR official, agent of the DNR, tell anybody that they could get a refund on their license. So the DNR is actually going to issue refunds on licenses?
I find that hard to believe.
So do I.
But it scares me that that conversation was brought up even to the point of, if you don't like what changes,
Wow.
you could do that.
Does anybody out there that's listening to the podcast or the live stream, does anybody know anything about this?
I think it's the end of the month. They're going to come out with their.
Is there any inkling?
Yeah. So my guess is, knowing where we're at up there, it might have to do with CWD.
Think you would put a bait ban on?
I don't know if there'll be a bait ban as much. I don't know. To tell you the truth, I have no idea. And I had a conversation with him then because I said, look, I know a lot about this right now, and I hate it because this is what's going to happen. Da 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 da. He's like, uh-oh.
That ain't good, man.
It's like, so I said, if we get a deer here, if they do this CWD thing and we can't travel a deer out of this county unless we debone it, skin it, and everything.
Right.
So maybe that's it. I don't know, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary. And
yeah, that's interesting, man. So we'll have to keep up on that.
yeah, so I don't know when they come out. I know it's the end of the month. I think it's August. By August 1st, I think they decide.
Yeah, because they had to put the new rules and regs out.
Right.
So I think by the end of this month sometime. So, yeah, if anybody's just listening that knows anything or has an inkling, have heard something, yeah, let us know. So.
If not, we're gonna find out the hard way, and we're gonna see it all over the news and everything. So.
Well, we talk with Lincoln Roan quite a bit. They may have some. He might have some.
Hopefully in August,
insight.
after we get the official word of what they're gonna do.
Yep, then we can
we'll find out.
Plan accordingly.
So just wanted to throw that out there as an interesting conversation I had up north.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead. We'll wrap up the podcast portion. If anybody else on the live stream's got any questions, we'll entertain a few questions and chat a little while here. So that'll do it for us for this week on the podcast, folks. Y'all take care. We'll be back again next week. So anybody out there on the live stream, if you got any questions, if you got any comments about what Danny just said.
Kind of scary.
Yeah, that kind of worries me, man.
Well, I get a feeling it's going to be some bans and some restrictions and all that happy CWD stuff.
Right.
My guess. If you were to ask me, knowing that it was in the next county over.
Well, that's just it. Yeah. I mean, and we've seen kind of how they react to that. So. We kind of know what to expect, I guess, when it comes to that. Unless there's some new complete mindset change that's going to spin everything.
Right? So hopefully next week I'll have some pictures from my trail cameras.
Okay.
You can definitely see Memorial Weekend how the deer looked.
Okay.
And how bad they looked. We've got 8 bears on camera.
Okay.
Coyote, wolf, sandhill crane, bobcat. I think it was bobcat. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they go to a CWD thing and they open up the doe permits and everything. I don't know if people are going to like that. I would. It's going to be a tough one.
Well, we'll sit here anxiously awaiting the DNR's decision as always, and kind of figure out where we got to go from there. And that's just another reason why I think we've talked about this so many times before is co-ops. Micromanaging an area within the law, obviously, but you can do your own thing. At that point.
Yep.
As far as how you want to manage the local area, so. Dean Elliott. Hey, guys. Hey, what's going on, Dean? Glad you could join us tonight.
But yeah, and the doe crop looked pretty good.
Good.
I saw one with triplets, so that was good. I think they actually survived pretty well.
Good. Well, that's good. I know we heard horror stories out of the UP as far as survival rates from past winters.
Oh, yeah, it can be nasty.
So,
but other than that,
I'm hoping to go up north this coming weekend.
Okay.
I'm going to go up and do some work at our camp, and then I'm going to venture up into elk country and start familiarizing myself with the back roads that I traveled many moons ago as a youngster.
There you go.
So
That'll work.
Maybe I get a couple photos or video of a couple elk. You never can tell. Last time I was up in that area, I saw 5. So
there you go.
We'll hopefully be
see him in velvet.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see what happens. But anybody got any questions before we wrap up this week?
No, I think we're all set.
Anybody? Bueller?
Bueller? All right.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and sign out. We'll be back again next week, and hopefully we'll have some good things to talk about and see what's going on. Oh, Dean says things we're going to go production of Scent Relief this month. Okay, hey, yeah. You've heard us talk about it on the show, Scent Relief. That was the neutralizer
Yep.
in a bottle, and you can turn it, either neutralize your urine completely, or you can turn it into a attractant scent or a cover scent.
Yep.
So Scent Relief is going into production this month. So look for it in your hunting stores here real soon.
Absolutely.
So-
Double thumbs up.
Absolutely. So Dean, thanks for that bit of information. And Dean also is the guy who's behind Gut Check. So
Gut Check.
we've talked about that here on the show as well. So Gut Check Indicators, which I will have the tabs with me on the elk hunt.
Yep.
Even though I'm using a
And
rifle.
we'll be putting them on our arrows.
On our arrows and taking them in the field with us this year. So we've got them ready to roll.
As soon as we know what arrows we're going to be using.
I've got, well, no, that's target arrow.
Right? Exactly.
So, all right, guys, y'all take care. We'll see you again next week.